Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets.
Good to be here.
So today, we're diving headfirst into some pretty big waves in the tech world. We've got sources looking at Google's whole antitrust thing, Intel trying to get back on track, and this global debate about AI rules.
Yeah, lots happening.
So the mission, let's try and cut through the noise, figure out what this all actually means for you listening.
Sounds good. Let's maybe start with Google. That DuckDuckGo testimony is pretty striking.
6 hours. That's a long time to be testifying.
It really is. And their main point, basically, is that Google's had an illegal search monopoly for, 15 years.
15 years, wow. And they're saying even the big fixes proposed, like selling Chrome or sharing data, it's not enough.
Yeah, they feel it's necessary, but maybe not sufficient, To undo 15 years of what they call an illegal monopoly, it's baked in pretty deep.
Baked in how exactly? What's the core issue they see?
It really boils down to distribution. Google being the default pretty much everywhere.
Ah, right. The default thing.
Exactly. That gives them a scale advantage that's just immense. Most people don't choose Google actively. It's just there.
Yeah, you just use what's on your phone or browser, don't you?
Mm-hmm. And even OpenAI, they admit it's tough to compete because of that scale, especially with what they call long-tail queries, the less common searches.
Okay, I see. And Chrome itself, valued at $100 billion.
Yeah.
That's double WhatsApp's price.
Yeah. It just shows you any tech giant that relies on ads would see owning Chrome as this massive opportunity for monetization. It's a direct line to users.
So what does DuckDuckGo actually want then? Just for Google to be broken up?
Well, part of their argument is they need access to Google's click and query data to actually compete on search quality.
Data, right. Because Google just sees so much more user interaction.
Precisely. They gave this example, like showing incorrect business hours, because Google just has way more user feedback to correct that kind of stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not just about size, it's about the data that size generates.
Right. And they brought up this kind of provocative idea of Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome with search engines.
Yeah, maybe users are happy with Google just because they haven't really experienced good alternatives, because switching the default is such a hassle. You stick with what you know.
Huh. That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
But is Google actually vulnerable? There's all this talk about AI chatbots disrupting search.
Well, that's the interesting counterpoint. Despite all that talk, Google's search business seems pretty resilient, actually.
Really? How so?
The numbers show query volume is up, and crucially, the monetizable queries, the commercial ones, also up.
Okay.
And remember, Google Search has, 1.5 billion monthly users? It's just vast.
So the antitrust risk is there, but maybe not an immediate business killer?
Probably not immediate, no. Alphabet will appeal. That takes ages. And, actually forcing them to sell Chrome or Android seems unlikely.
Right.
Behavioral remedies are more probable. Things like ending exclusive deals, making it easier to choose defaults, that sort of thing.
Okay. And their earnings were good recently, too, weren't they?
Very strong Q1. Ad revenue from search and YouTube up about 10% year over year. And Google Cloud, over 28% growth. And it's actually making good money now.
Wow.
The big question mark is still AI, though. How they monetize it, and does it eventually, eat into their own search revenue? That's the lingering concern.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a bit. Intel. Their stock's been having a rough time.
Yeah, a bit under pressure. Concerns about tariffs. Maybe some investors aren't totally sold on the restructuring message yet.
They have a new CEO, though.
They do, and there's usually some goodwill there, but it's a long road back. The focus seems less on grand strategy, more on just execution, getting things right.
What kind of things?
Well, trying to change the culture, make it less bureaucratic, more focused on engineering and products again, and short-term, stabilize market share.
Right, in PCs and servers, where they've lost ground.
Exactly. Places where AMD and ARM have definitely made inroads.
And their Q1 results, you mentioned tariffs affecting things.
Yeah, Q1 looked better than expected, but it seems customers bought chips early because they were worried about tariffs.
Pulling demand forward.
Right, which then leads to a weaker forecast for Q2, but apparently that's an industry thing, not just Intel.
Gotcha. Okay, so shifting again. AI regulation, big topic, U.S. versus Europe.
Yeah, it's a really interesting contrast. The Trump administration was pushing Europe pretty hard to back off their AI rules.
Why? What's the U.S. view?
Basically that the EU approach is too heavy-handed. Too much regulation might stifle innovation. They particularly don't like the EU's voluntary AI code of practice.
Even though it's voluntary.
Well, it's voluntary, but it's tied into their actual AI Act, which has huge potential fines, like up to 7% of global annual sales.
7%. Okay, yeah, that's not voluntary in effect, is it?
Not really, no. And the U.S. concerns go beyond just AI regs. They also have issues with the Digital Markets Act, seeing it as restricting trade, and EU content moderation stuff, too.
So the U.S. message is basically, don't overdo it, especially not on our companies.
Pretty much. Caution against overregulating, caution against targeting U.S. firms.
But despite all this regulatory uncertainty, people are still pouring money into AI in the U.S.
Oh, absolutely. Investment is still massive. There's just so much optimism about what AI can do, drug discovery, cancer research, all sorts of things.
Right.
But stability in the rules is important. If the regulations are unclear or always changing, that definitely makes big investments harder. You need some clarity.
Makes sense. And it feels like a global race now, doesn't it? Investing in AI.
Totally. It's seen as a strategic imperative. You have to invest big in AI infrastructure, otherwise you risk falling behind really fast. AI is expected to just redefine industries.
And we might see AI agents helping us out soon, like with writing or finding info.
Yeah, that seems pretty near term. Maybe the next, 2 to 4 years. Agents assisting with content, research, that kind of thing.
Interesting. Is there a risk, though, that U.S. policies like tariffs could actually end up helping China?
That's a point some people raise, yeah. If U.S. trade policy makes things unstable, Europe might see China as, well, a more stable partner for tech. It's complex.
And U.S. companies are investing in Chinese AI firms.
Some are, yeah, particularly in consumer agent companies. It suggests this mix of, competition, but also maybe some cooperation or hedging bets.
But the U.S. is still seen as the leader in the core AI stuff.
Generally, yes, especially the foundational AI agent space. China's making progress for sure, but U.S. companies are still largely seen as leading the charge.
And one last thing on AI. OpenAI changing its structure to a public benefit corporation.
Right, that was a big move. The stated reason is to prioritize their mission, AI for the benefit of humanity, over just making profit.
Huh. Trying to put ethics or mission ahead of pure profit.
Exactly. It's a really interesting signal about the direction they want to take and maybe the kind of pressures these leading AI labs are feeling. It raises all sorts of questions about the future.
It really does. You've got the antitrust pressure on giants like Google, Intel trying to reinvent itself, and this massive global push and pull over how to handle AI. It's a lot.
Absolutely. All of these pieces are connected, and it's going to keep evolving, that's for sure.
It definitely makes you wonder about that balance, between letting innovation run wild and putting some guardrails in place, especially with something as powerful as AI. What does that future actually look like for us day to day? Lots to chew on there.
Indeed.
Well, thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the episode, please do like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.